Foster Friday Live. Thank you so much for joining us. We are thrilled to have Ashlyn here with us today.
Hey,
and we're going to be talking about building a community of support. So not everyone can foster, but everyone can do something. And so as you enter into foster care, as you journey through foster care, there are going to be people who come alongside you in different ways. And so Ashlyn's going to share with us a little bit about her perspective. Do you mind introducing yourself? And then at the very end, we have an incredible opportunity for foster and adopt moms that Ashlyn's going to share with you, because she's part of a team that's putting together an incredible resource. So,
yes, so my name's Ashlyn, and I've been a foster parent for about 5 years now.
Wow.
So it was almost this time 5 years ago that I started pursuing my license. So I didn't actually get my license until the summer, but I really started the journey 5 years ago, this time of year.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about what that experience, what your journey has looked like.
So I am single, so I feel like that's a big piece of my journey, because I think doing this as a single parent makes your experience in your journey look just a little bit different. It's not not necessarily harder or easier, it's just different. Yeah. So I, my first placement actually was a 4-month-old little boy, and I ended up adopting him a year ago. So he was with me through foster care for 4 years, and then we finalized his adoption, which I never saw, I never thought that I would adopt, but here we are, and it's been wonderful. And then I've had 13 other children over the span of 5 years.
That's incredible.
I've had the privilege and joy of having in my home and being their parent for whatever span of time. Right now I have 16-month-old twins. I got them from the NICU 16 months ago, so they feel like part of our family, and it's really fun. It's really crazy. Yeah. I have child gates everywhere in my house.
Of course. So, as you look back on your experience and all these kids that have come through your room, and you said adopting wasn't really on the radar at first. What has been the most rewarding part of your experience?
I think one of the most rewarding things is seeing the idea of restoration. And restoration can look different for different people and in different stories, because every child's story is unique. One of my just fond moments that I look back on is one of the time a little girl that I had for about 9 months, her and her siblings were reunified with their mom. Yeah. And I pulled into the DSS parking lot, and I was sitting there, and I got her out, and her mom starts walking towards her, and she's probably 18 months old at this point, and she just runs towards her mom with her arms outstretched. And that moment of seeing them run towards each other is like this beautiful mental picture for me of, this is why I foster. This is the very rewarding part. And you don't always see a family restored, but sometimes you see a child story restored through adoption. Sometimes you see a child story restored through reunification. Sometimes it's a different ending, but it's still that same beautiful moment of this idea of this little girl just running towards her mom and calling mama, and just seeing that moment. I'm like, okay, yes, this makes all the hard days worth it. This is why we do what we do.
Right. Well, and there's these really beautiful moments, and that it's just like the perfect picture. This, the goal is reunification, and you're working towards it. And then when it finally comes, it's, something to be celebrated, but it's not without challenges. It's not. So what might be some of the things, and, as we're talking about support and building a community around you, or, inviting your existing community to be part of this with you, what might be just some of the things that are just hard about fostering, and maybe even specifically as a single mom?
I think sometimes what can be hard is that you feel very alone, or even misunderstood. Because I think that there's even for me, before I started fostering, there were so many misconceptions I had around foster care and what it was. And it was really seeing some people that were close to me walk through this journey that opened my eyes to foster care, what it actually is, what the needs are. And so,
because when you're not a part of it, it's so hard to really understand.
Yes.
Because it's not what it looks like in the movies or on TV.
It's totally different.
It's not every horror story that you hear on the news. Sometimes it feels, and you live it out very differently.
Yes. So I think having all of those misconceptions going into foster care, then like having, well, maybe not really going into it, but before I started it, and then starting into my foster care journey and seeing so many of my friends that are like, I mean, I think what you're going to do is great, but I really don't know what you're going to do. And so just inviting them into our story and saying, I don't really know what I'm doing here either, but come be part of this, because this is something that I feel called to and I feel very passionate about. So come over and hang out with us, go to the park with us, and, you know, just do life with us. And so really inviting people into our story so that other people's eyes can be opened about what foster care is.
Well, and it sounds like it's kind of become full circle where you maybe acted as a support for some other people that were walking into foster care. That's how you learned about it. And now you're inviting other people kind of into your story.
Yes.
Okay.
I definitely see it that way. I mean, I hope that they do too. But I think that it's really hard sometimes to articulate what you need as a foster parent.
Right. When they just say, how can I help you? Or call me if you need anything.
Yes. And I'm like, don't be that open-ended. I don't know what I
don't know what I need.
Yes.
Right.
I don't know. Just come show up.
Especially right at the very beginning when you're like,
yes.
I really have no idea.
Yes.
I don't know I still don't know what daily life is going to look like. I don't know what this entails. I don't know how to tell you what I need. And I think for some people too, there's that hesitance to, you know, show weakness in asking for help. You know, maybe they've identified a need and they're not willing to ask for help. Did you experience any of that, you know, as you were trying to maybe prove yourself as a new foster parent that you could handle it? Or what did that look like in your very first round of stepping into this and inviting your community alongside you?
That is such a great question, because as a person, not even as a foster parent, it's very challenging for me to ask for help. And I feel like fostering has forced me to grow in that in so many positive ways. I think one of the most discouraging things is when you do ask for help and people still don't really understand how to meet that need. But then for me, learning how to better communicate what I do need so that they're able to respond better. Like, okay, how did I ask that maybe wasn't very clear? Because it's very hard for me to just directly say, hey, we need a meal. Or, hey, I need someone to watch the children so I can just have 1 hour of quiet. And I think as a single parent too, it's even more important that you're taking care of yourself, because no one else is going to. Your spouse is not going to be like, hey babe,
you need a break.
You need a break. You've got to have a very strong sense of self-awareness of when you need a break to be able to take care of the children in your home well.
Right.
Because if
you hear that saying all the time, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yes. And I found that to be so true in fostering. And I feel like that has really, I've seen that really flesh out in our daily lives. Like, if I am not taking care of myself, I can't care for my children well, especially children from trauma, children from bad experiences. They need me to really be at my best to be able to pour into them. I can't be at my best if I'm not taking care of myself. It is impossible for me to take care of myself without leaning into the people around me. So learning to take people up on their offers that are extremely humbling when someone says, can we come over and help? And I'm like, but the house is a mess. I'm like, yes, you can come over. Just come over.
So can you maybe walk us through like what community has looked like, what your support system has looked like, and maybe how that's changed over time? Maybe, you know, the emotional and social support, but also what are some of the tangible things that your community has done?
Okay, so I have so many things on all of those spectrums, but I think I'll just start by saying when I first started fostering, everything about foster care was very overwhelming and confusing. I'm like, taking care of a kid, I've got this. I'm from a family of 10 kids. I'm near the top of the oldest. And like, I can change a diaper, bathe the baby, no big. But understanding legal terms, understanding what to expect from caseworkers. And so having foster parents that have walked this road before me, that I could just pick up the phone at any time and call and say, what does this mean? I just got a document that says these TPR, what is that again? Like all of this lingo. Just having someone that could walk me through those things, and people that get it, not people that you're trying to explain it to and like help them get it, but people that just get it. They're like, I know what it feels like.
They've done it before.
Yes, I've walked this road. And having some of those foster parents, even now, some of our neighbors are fostering, and it's so nice because you kind of know each other's needs without all the work of articulating something. Like my community group is great, but I have to be very specific with them. Like my community group at church, I have to be very specific with them. Like, I need this. They don't just know how to fill in the blanks like other foster parents do. They're like, oh, you got a new placement. I gotcha. I'll run down the road with some stuff. So I think that having those people that just get it, other foster parents, other adoptive moms that are like, I've been there, you say no more. I know what you need. I'm showing up at your door with a care package for you and the child.
Yeah.
But then also having people that are in my group, in my close circle of friends that aren't fostering sometimes gives them more bandwidth to come alongside of me and our family and to kind of step into our story more in that way, because they are, they don't have 3 placements that they're in the middle of navigating or caseworker visits endlessly. One time when we moved, I moved into a new house so that I would have more room for fostering, and it was kind of a mess, and our church just showed up. Like, they just sent people in waves. The whole downstairs got painted.
Wow.
They helped me move. They sent food. They just showed up. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I've seen in fostering is just show up. Like, for me, I just need to show up for the kids in my home. Like, they have not had people consistently in their life that just show up for them consistently. And I haven't always had people in my life that just show up for me consistently. And so being that for those children, and then allowing other people in my group to be that for me, where they can just show up.
And I think that's key, what you said, allowing them to show up, inviting them in, and then letting them into the pretty parts and the not as pretty parts.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. So, you talk about this church group that you have that has been so meaningful to you. What maybe are some ways that someone who doesn't have that can start to find it?
Also another really good question. So I don't know that I'm the expert on ways, but I'll tell you a couple things that have worked well for me.
Yeah.
Some of it is actually this amazing online community that I found, which I know is becoming more and more prevalent in our day and age. But on Instagram, I found several other single foster moms. Wow, and that has been so affirming for me to be able to follow them and their stories and see. Sometimes I feel like everyone thinks I'm crazy, like fostering single, adopting, having 3 kids 4 and under, like, what am I doing here? And seeing them, they also have 3 kids, or they have 5 kids, and they're managing just fine, and they're real about what they're going through, and that's just been a very authentic and affirming experience connecting with them. Even though we've never met in person, I feel like we have such a great connection, and I think we're able to message each other when we have questions or are going through something. So that's been really encouraging. And then also, I think just finding the groups in your area and getting plugged in with them, which can be very hard as a foster parent because you don't know that so many people coming to your home, and you don't know that they exist. But you just feel so busy with, like, I have a caseworker visit, so
managing everything else already. Finding one more thing to add on to that can feel overwhelming.
I think so, but you have to be so intentional about it. You have to see the value in having that community, realizing, I do feel alone, but I can be a creator in this moment. I can help not feel so alone. There's a foster parent association near me. I can go to a meeting. There's maybe a dinner of foster moms. Putting yourself out there.
Support groups. I mean, I think just getting connected in the ways that you know how, and that expands your network.
And then putting it out there that you are fostering and that you are looking. There's a ton of people that love networking that are going to be like, oh, my friend, such and such. And go out to dinner. You don't have to be best friends, but just find other people.
Else is there. So, when you talk about saying, like, asking for help, asking, like, this is what I need, or being clear about what you need. Can you talk about, just maybe for the people, hey, Mike, we're glad that you're here. Can you talk about, for the people who are in your life who are not foster parents, that they don't understand foster care? What are some of the tangible things that they've done for you? So, for example, I know Crystal has a friend who picks up her laundry and does her laundry and brings it back washed and folded. Or, you mentioned a friend bringing a meal when you have a new placement, and just kind of crazy, hectic, routine trying to figure out, who goes where and what do you need from that point. So are there any other tangible things that maybe people in your community outside of foster care have done that have been really meaningful? I mean, obviously the big ways of, like, getting your house ready for you, but any, like, smaller ways?
I feel like there's small ways all the time, like someone sending me a Bite Squad gift certificate.
Oh, yes.
Or I think watching the children is a huge thing. the twins have a lot of medical just challenges, and so we end up being in the hospital overnight quite a bit, or in the ER, and having a friend that's like, hey, I saw you're in the ER, I'll be there in 15 minutes to pick up your older kids, so they don't have to be there with you. Things like that.
Just seeing the need and like stepping into
it. Or a lady from our community group coming and sitting at the ER with me and just being there with me, I think is
so it changes for you depending on kind of what season you're in.
And depending on the placements you have and what your needs are as a family unit with the changing dynamics of having different children in and out of your home, I think that can be different. I always think childcare is good. Starbucks gift cards are
good. So under reasonable and prudent parenting, I think it's good to say that, you know, if there's someone that you trust, you know, a trusted person in your life, that they don't have to be certified to watch your kids. You know, they don't have to be a licensed foster parent to, you know, have your kids in their home. And that is a game changer, honestly, because you know, foster parents are already at capacity so often, you know, allowing your other friends to come in. That's so key.
And I think one thing for me is, as a single parent, I really want my son to have positive male influences in his life. And so the friends of mine that have said, hey, we're going fishing, can he come? Hey, I'm going to go play basketball with my son, can he come? Those things mean so much to me. And that's been one of the most difficult things for me to ask for, is be like, hey, can you speak into our family by just spending time with my son? That's really difficult.
And I think representation of all kinds matters, and having those different influences, those different people in your life that have diverse experiences and have diverse perspectives and backgrounds that can show your kids who might not look like you, who might not come from the same culture or background, they can show them, you know, this is possible.
That's been huge for us.
So talk to us about the Refresh Conference. I mean, we're talking about opportunities to connect, to find a support system, to develop community. This is a great way to do it. So can you tell us a little bit about this?
Yes. So you alluded at the beginning that we had a big resource, and that is the Refresh Conference. So this is a conference I've been going to probably for 4 years, almost since I got licensed as a foster parent. And it's just an amazing weekend where women from all over the Upstate, state, surrounding states come together, and there's a lot of practical sessions. It's definitely very boots on the ground. There's Adoption 101, which I found the attorney that I used for our adoption through that, and she's an amazing resource for our family, and there's just so many great resources there. But one of the biggest missions and purposes for why Refresh even exists is to create community in the world of foster and adopt, especially moms, because they know and they see the need that sometimes you just don't know how to find them. They're out there, but you don't know how to tap into them. And so they want to create this conference and this way for you to come together and see other people that you can know and can develop friendships with, and be a resource for each other, be that community for each other. No one needs to feel like they're on an island. You're not on an island, even if you are fostering, you are adopting. There's other people out there that are doing the same thing as you. You're not on an island. There's people that have amazing resources. They've been through that before. They have a child with RAD. They know what you're going through, and they can really create that sense of community and support. So the conference is next weekend, and we can still take registrations if people are interested. And again, the point of the conference is just to create this sense of community for moms that are fostering and
connection,
adopting.
Education, training credits.
Lots of training credits.
So if you are a licensed foster parent, you can get some of those licensing hours taken care of here. Now, what if someone is just considering foster care? They're considering domestic adoption, international adoption. They haven't done it yet. They haven't stepped in, but they're just thinking about it. Is this a place for them too?
It's an amazing resource for them, because there are so many vendors that will tell you about all the options within each of those buckets that you mentioned. There's sessions about how to get involved with those things, what to do with those things. And also, if it's something that you're seriously considering, there's probably other people there that you want to make connections with, some of these friendships that you want to go ahead and start. And maybe you as that person can speak into some of us who are weary and tired. You can come alongside of us while you're waiting for your adoption to go through. And you can see and just kind of link arms with moms that are doing it and walking the journey that you're considering. And I think there can be a lot of value in that. And even if you're like, hey, you know what? I don't really ever have an interest in fostering or adopting. I just want to support people who are.
Right, which is what we're talking about today.
Place for you too, because so many of my friends that actually go to Refresh.
That's awesome.
Don't foster, don't adopt, but they just have such a passion for children in hard places, and so they see
and supporting
alongside these women as a way to support children in hard places.
That's awesome. Well, and so I think it's worth mentioning that while Care to Foster is not a religious organization, this is rooted in a faith-based Christian conference. Is that right?
It is faith-based, though I certainly think that there could be something there
for everyone. So there's no tie to a church that you have to have or anything like that to benefit from the experience.
Yes. There's certainly a strong faith emphasis on the entire conference. I don't want to misrepresent that in any way, but there's so many practical training and education pieces as well.
So it sounds like this is a really great tool, great resource for everyone that is maybe at any stage of the process.
I certainly think so.
Well, thank you so much. Do you want to just tell us really quick where maybe they can find registration online and how to find Refresh Conference on social media?
Yeah, so it's Refresh Upstate, and we can tag it in the comments here too so that you can get connected with them on Facebook, and they'll give you all the information from there.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Ashlyn. Thank you all of you for joining us. We're so glad to have you, and we will see you next week. Bye.